I just want, Jordan and Shae, I just want to give you context. Jordan and Shae Cornette joining us on Brother from Another. Again, Jordan, this is your second time. Shae, welcome.
Hello.
I got to give you context. I have been, Jordan, I admit it, hating on, I didn't know I had so much hatred in my heart. I was just hating on Cincinnati the entire season. It started with, even before the season started, it's like, oh yeah, of course they draft a wide receiver when they needed an offensive line. They need an offensive lineman. They should have drafted Sewell, not Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, not even the best wide receiver in the draft. Oops. So I made that statement and I couldn't back away from it. So I spent the entire year trying to be right. And I was wrong. They made it to the Super Bowl. But I'm talking to their number one fan. So,
Hey, Michael, let me tell you, not everybody's ready for change, man. Sometimes it takes generations to understand the change is going to come. And it's arrived. And it's arrived with some rose-colored glasses from my man, Joey B. Joe Blocka. And they made the necessary moves, this front office, where all of a sudden the Bengals, they become trendsetters in this offseason, where now you got franchises saying, oh, we got to keep up with the Bengals. Look at them making moves. All we needed to fix, Michael, was our offensive line. You know what we did? We fixed that thing and then some. Our backups may be able to get busy at the offensive line this year. We're ready. We're ready for another run. It's not lightning in a bottle. She has to live with this.
I do.
Every day.
Okay, that's my question. Shae, that is exactly where I wanted to go. How do you live with this? How do you live with this guy who is all in for the Bengals all the time? What's that like for you?
Well, first of all, let me just say I'm from Chicago, so I'm Bears. And so in the beginning of the season, I was over here thinking like I was going to be the one having something to say with Justin Fields now there in Chicago. And I was wrong. I let him have his flowers because it's been a long time for Cincinnati since they've been good at anything. Okay. And so for them to have this moment and go all the way to the Super Bowl, I let them just I even kind of tiptoed on the bandwagon a little, dipped my toes in. I actually feel something now because I feel invested in this Bengals team. I love the offseason moves they made and signing 3 agents to that O-line. But now no love is given at all to the Bengals with the Deshaun Watson move to the Browns. And it's like they weren't even in the Super Bowl. It happened just like that. So I actually feel sorry for Bengals fans yet again.
Yeah, and you know what the funniest thing is I think she's come along to the Bengals because she looks at her Bears and goes, well, is this what the season's going to look like for my Bears?
Oh, don't do that.
Maybe I need to jump on board with the Bengals. I'm telling you, it's become a cool time to root for the Bengals, but that AFC North, it's a gauntlet this year with Deshaun joining up in Cleveland. I mean, now I'm hearing OBJ might want to go back to Cleveland.
Please, he ain't go back.
You know what Lamar is going to bring over there with Baltimore and then Pittsburgh. It looks like I believe Mitch Trubisky may have a resurgence here, and I think the Steelers could return with that defense.
Shae, you don't buy that. Shae's not buying that. I'm not buying it either. Mitch Trubisky, come on.
The only one I'm buying is Tomlin because if Tomlin can't fix
but that's
whatever they got going on there, no one can.
Trubisky's never had stability on the sidelines. And he's had a chance to go learn at a place like Buffalo, behind a guy like Josh Allen. And look, stock grows when you don't have to take snaps. I get it for Mitch Trubisky there in Buffalo. But I think when you join the model of consistency in a franchise, you'll be propped up by an elevated defense and you've got guys around you. This team, now they got to fix an offensive line there for Trubisky. But I think he's got a chance to do some things and surprise some people.
You know, I do want to ask you about this. We were at the Super Bowl, had a great view of it too. In the NBC box, sitting there, and fourth quarter, I'm going back and forth. The Bengals have a lead. The Rams are driving, and then there's that pass interference call that was not very good. We know that it was not a good call. How did you process the Super Bowl, like day of, day after? And Shae, what was it like? Just being there with him and viewing the Super Bowl, knowing how invested he was.
Oh, you're going to bring up a marital riff here. You're
bringing up old stuff. But it's fine. Why don't you bask in your glory for a minute and then I'll let her shut the whole thing down. I'll shut it down.
Well, for one, I think I'm still coming down off the high of the halftime show. And I mean that literally and figuratively. One of the best halftime shows of all time. But the contact high was fierce during that one. I'm just going to say. But look, it was incredible because Yeah, some plays didn't go our way, but I like the resiliency of this group. And it's ironic, Michael, that the way the Super Bowl ended was very indicative about what the Bengals needed to go out and do. If Joe Burrow had a half a second more of time to step up in that pocket and deliver a strike to Jamar Chase, who would beat the defense down the right side of the field, we would have won that game in an exhilarating fashion. But the offensive line couldn't hold up. An offensive line that gave up nearly 10 sacks in that Super Bowl. We knew what we needed to fix. And so to me, it was incredible to feel like, wow, we made it here. Mm-hmm. And we're all aware of just how difficult it is to get back to a Super Bowl. But I feel good that this team's going to be playing meaningful playoff games in the future. And that's a big hurdle to jump over, that this team can consistently be there, because all of a sudden Cincinnati's sexy as a destination because of a guy like Joe Burrow.
So in terms of how we dealt with the Super Bowl loss in this household, I will say he was actually pretty good about it. Like, look, I think we all work in sports because there's a passion for our teams, a passion for sports. It makes us feel something. And sometimes we're highly emotional over things we shouldn't be. But I will give Jay credit for, after that loss, I was like, oh man, a bad mood for days. I can't deal. But he came home and I was like, buddy, come on. Like, let's hang our hat on the fact that they actually made it there. No one saw it coming, like underdogs the whole way through.
I thought you were going to complain that you weren't there. I thought that's
well, that was annoying, but whatever. We have a child. Things got in the way. And he came home and he's like, I was just happy that we made it that far. And obviously, yes, you can never count Cincinnati out, not with Joe Burrow under center going forward. And Jordan's right. Like, they become trendsetters. Look, getting a receiver through the draft now is popular because there's so many of them. They're at a premium, it feels like, over the last couple of years. But I think Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have set the tone for what's possible in getting a young receiver and what it can elevate your team to. Before, it was O-linemen and corners and quarterbacks. That's what elevated your team. Now receivers have a real chance to do that as well.
Listen, since we're talking football, and I know both of you can talk about just about anything, let's get to the news of the day before I talk to you both about college basketball. And we talked about it off the top. Tyreek Hill. A couple of days ago, the headline was, hey, Tyreek Hill about to sign a contract extension with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be done any day now. It'll be a big contract. And then today, whoa, Tyreek Hill signs a huge contract, not with Kansas City, but traded to Miami for 5 draft picks. Is this a great trade for Miami? On paper, it looks like it is. Shocking. Just what are your thoughts, both of you, on this big move today?
So I guess a few things. Number one, now Kansas City, their number one receiver is Juju Smith-Schuster, if I'm understanding this correctly. So they're going to have to retool and figure out what they're going to do. But as we just talked about receivers being a premium in the draft, like I would assume now Kansas City obviously is going to use some of this draft stock that they have to go and get some receivers. In terms of what Miami is, to me, I feel like Tua's never been given a fair shot. I don't. I think the way that this, obviously we've learned more because of the Brian Flores case. Tua was banged up in that first year. He was kind of playing in the shadow of Fitzmagic. And so now this is really a chance where they're surrounding him with some talent. They're in Miami. They're actually going to go and compete. And I think we could see a Tua Tagovailoa actually flourish into something that could create W's in a conference that he's capable of winning or competing in. Look, the Dolphins have been just on the outside looking in of the playoffs for the last couple of years. And maybe it was Tyreek Hill that they feel was just the last piece to kind of get him over the hump.
And to me, I mean, let's not forget, they should still have Brian Flores on the sidelines because this was a Dolphins group that won 8 of their last 9 games.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
There's serious
momentum. That's right.
Yeah, people forget about that, don't they, Michael? There's a lot of momentum there in Miami, no question. Mm-hmm. There's an ability to win. It is obviously going to amplify everything that Tua does because of the effort made here. And I see a few things that are fascinating to me. One, Devontae Adams clearly set the market where Tyreek goes, wait, he got what to go out there? I need to be paid. And so to me, I think Tyreek Hill will also be judged on, look, you left one of the best talents at the quarterback position we've seen in recent history because you wanted to be the highest paid receiver and go play for Tua. I hope it works out for you. Obviously, it will financially and for generations to come. And look, Cream, we get it. Cash rules everything around me, but you've left a very good situation there in Kansas City with a good thing going offensively. Got a little bit frenzied this year, but you're still in the AFC Championship game and in position. And now you're going to play for a guy who hasn't fully proven himself in Tua Tagovailoa and Mike McDaniel as a head coach who nobody knows what he can do. So you left very stable to, yes, a place that can win, but some instability there, so to speak, and it's not proven. So it'll be interesting to see for me. what happens there. But I do think also it comes back to the Bengals, and I'm not being a homer here, but I think it shows when Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow impact can have. When you have that stud receiver, sometimes that can translate to some simple wins right there when you have a difference maker on the perimeter.
Yeah, I hear you. Devontae at least went with someone he was familiar with in Derek Carr. I mean, those two scored more touchdowns as a tandem point in college in the last decade. And whereas Tyreek Hill is just going to get his in Miami, which he has earned, that's fine. But it's a very different scenario for him to set the bar at the same exact level when Devontae's is a very different scenario.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. So college basketball, I was talking yesterday about underdogs. I love to see underdogs. We've never seen a true underdog in either women's basketball or men's basketball win it all. We haven't. And the closest we came was, Butler and Gordon Hayward. That shot goes in against Duke.
Yep.
Maybe you got it. Do you guys think we're any closer to that? Could that possibly happen out of one of these 16 teams, not a blue blood, could win a championship? Do you see it happening on the men's side first?
I would love to give you that answer. I would love to give you that answer, Michael. But as I look at it, I just feel like, what UNC is doing, they're a blue blood, clearly. But it speaks to coming together and playing your best basketball at the proper time. It's really fun to watch what St. Peter's is doing. I hope this team can go on a run. I guess here's my Cinderella, if I could give you one. They're not they're not a traditional Cinderella because they play in the ACC, but it's the Miami Hurricanes. And I had a chance to watch them come out of that Greenville region in South Carolina, and that wasn't an upset of Auburn. They were the better team from tip-off. They got after him with a defensive game plan in terms of we're going to throw traps at you all over. Active hands were undersized, but we're going to be disruptive. Turned that team over 18 times in that game, was able to get 30 fast break points, Miami, to Auburn's 1. Auburn likes to run. That says to me, Miami's going to dictate the type of game that's going to be played. And ultimately, this Miami group, three-headed monster. And we know when we talk about these teams in the league, they want those 3 stars, right? You want to build around a big 3. Miami's got a big 3. They're just not household names, but they're bucket getters for this group. Charlie Moore, Cam McGusty, Isaiah Wong, 3 guys that can spread you out and go get one when it's turbulent in the game. They turn you over. They play fast. They know what kind of game it's going to be played. They make you play their game. That's a 10 seed. Miami could go on that run if you're looking for one of those double-digit seeds that maybe navigates through this weekend and gets down to New Orleans.
Are we considering Gonzaga a blue blood yet? Or
you got to.
I mean, I feel like we teeter on the line. We do. Okay. So I guess to answer your question, I don't feel like this is going to be the year where there's an underdog that actually wins the thing, because I just think Gonzaga is so loaded. And every year we're having the conversation of, are they vulnerable because of the conference they play in? Heck, we thought the ACC was so down this year. And how many teams do they have playing in the Sweet 16? 3?
They got 3 of them. It should have been 4 if Notre Dame could have grabbed the rebound, Michael. If they could have grabbed the rebound, we'd have 4
got 2. So to me, it just, you never can really rely on the regular season for what can happen in the postseason. I love the story about St. Peter's. It reminds me of the Loyola Chicago days, because I covered that team that went to the Final Four, but for some reason, it's like that's as far as they can get as of late, as the Final Four. So I hope this St. Peter's run keeps going, but to me, I think it's going to be Gonzaga's year.
What a fun story.
Or Arizona.
What a fun St. Peter's story, because it can propel you to other things, right?
Yeah,
Shaheen Holloway having been a star at Seton Hall. Kevin Willard leaves for Maryland. Of all the years for a St. Peter's group to break through, and Shaheen Holloway is the coach, maybe that propels him to greater heights to getting that Seton Hall job. If he doesn't, it's mind-numbing, the decision-making going on there, because he's built for the job. So those things, look, it may not equate to a national championship for St. Peter's, but it equates to one for Shaheen Holloway and the payday that should be coming his way. Those things that can be spawned out of a tournament run, a magical one out of nowhere, are always exciting stories to me.
That's why March Madness is the best.
It is.
I want to ask you guys this. My final question for you. I always think this. My wife has to listen to all of my stories, all of my media stories, all of my let's be honest, my moodiness at times, things aren't going well. I'm like, okay, I'm describing things to her. She's not in this industry. She has to put up with my stuff. How do you guys deal with this? Do you wake up and say, okay, I got this today. What do you think about this? Do you try out takes on one another? Like, what is that like with both of you in the business at a very high level?
Role playing is very different in the Cornette household. I can start there, Michael, but I won't go down that path. What I would say is, for one, we separate it, right? Like, it's an advantage, a distinct advantage for us, because we know how these suits think, right? They want to build chemistry with two people. You and Michael happen to have it great, hence the title, Brother from Another Mother. You guys have Brother from Another, excuse me, but you get where I'm going with it. You guys have that chemistry.
That's it.
For us, we hope we have that chemistry. We're married. So we just lean into being who we are, what attracted us to each other. And we have the opportunity we don't have to jump on Zoom meetings. We can be on the couch. We can be handling our 11-month-old child, and we'll pop up on our phone some news, and we'll have our take kind of hashed out then. So we go on air, we're ready to rock. And so I think that built-in chemistry, that ongoing Zoom meeting that's 24/7 in our household. But I think the biggest thing is being able to separate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, we're still working on that too. Like, we're not perfect at it. There's no handbook for two people being married with a family and being in this business. Like, if there is one, please someone send it to us. But I will say, yeah, in terms of like the takes and what we think, it's organic, because it has to be. Like, for example, the Tyreek Hill trade that happened today, we watched it live. We had the TV on in the background and we heard it. We got the alert on our phones, and in real time, Jordan's like, that's huge. Patrick, like, we just have a conversation right there organically. So I knew what he thought and he knew what I thought, and we walk away. And so anytime we do a show together, we don't have to have that prep, because it's just us in this house having the prep all day long, So that's the benefit. The negative of it, obviously, is it's hard to turn off. Like, what's your schedule today? We're talking about work. Well, I'm stressed because of work. I know I got this. Like, it's constant. It's hard to turn off.
But that's fun. That is the beauty of it. And look, we're all benefiting from it. I enjoy listening to you guys. Could really go on. Could go on and on. You guys have to come back. There's so much more I want to get to with you both. But I know you got an 11-month-old. You got an 11-month-old, and you guys are calm. I remember, like, 11 months. Like, and listen, I'll just tell you this. Here's the advice I'll give you. Once potty training comes in, you're golden. I mean, potty training is the next level. Okay, it gets like 3% to that,
Michael. We ain't even close to that.
Right?
You have a boy? Is it a boy?
Little boy, yeah, little Joey.
You're right. You're right. You're not close.
Yeah. Man, we're not. He just started walking. I felt like that was a big milestone.
Yeah.
Be patient, though. Hey, love talking to you guys. You have to come back, all right?
We will. Michael, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, brother.
Jordan, Shae. And now, you're right. I'm becoming a Bengals, not fan is not the right word. I'm becoming appreciative.
That's the right term.
Hey, that's
appreciative. That's how I feel, too.
That's a start.
It's a start. Hey, I'm shocked. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.